Hey gang, how we doing today? Welcome to the Inside Wag Nutrition Podcast. I'm Josh.
And I'm Chris.
And today we are going to talk about phases of dieting. We have a really great article. I'll say this, Chris linked, well, he's going to link a really great article. Should I bulk, cut, reverse, or maintain? From our plethora of articles on our blog, on our website. And then he dives a little bit into intuitive eating versus intentional eating. What are they and which ones suit you a little bit. But mostly we're going to talk about the three phases of dieting. Now, one thing I want to say is that recently the idea of reverse dieting has been a topic of discussion in that there's been some new research and some new papers put out suggesting that this isn't really a thing. There's a lot of nuance to it, and I think that it depends on the frame or the lens that you're looking at it through. Meaning, like, reverse dieting is just as simple as adding calories back into your diet, trying to maintain the same weight. That's like, I don't think you would get any argument from anyone about that in the fitness space. Is that how
for those who understand calories?
For those,
calories out.
Right. Is that how you understand like reverse diet? This is a gross oversimplification for sure.
Sure.
But your idea of reverse dieting, like, we'll get into the other three, but reverse dieting, what are your thoughts on that?
I think there's many ways to take that. I think it depends on the individual. Everything depends on the individual.
Sure.
It depends on the reality, their expectations, where they're at in their goal, pertaining to their goals and reaching their goals. But really what it is, it's an opportunity to come out of a phase of fat loss or come out of a phase of bulking to maintain whatever it is you just brought yourself through. It can be a slow, steady process, and that might be the case for someone who's a beginner. But somebody who's a little more advanced, like you or I, who kind of knows what we're doing and just kind of have been through the different phases of cutting, maintaining, and bulking and everything in between or whatever.
Right.
We have the tools to be able to do that. So like beginning of last year, I tried a aggressive deficit for fat loss, where instead of essentially the premise is instead of doing like a fat loss period over 2 to 3 months time, where you're slowly chipping calories away to make it slow, steady, sustainable, and not be all that difficult on you, ultimately, it is doing a shorter 4 to 6 week aggressive deficit where you're drastically reducing calories, keeping protein very high to keep satisfaction there, to drop weight, fat loss while minimizing muscle loss in a shorter period of time, and then going immediately back up to maintenance calories and knowing that really nothing's going to happen, because it also depends on I like to say, well-oiled machine of the person's body. Like, is this a body that's been through phases of cutting weight, maintaining weight, intentionally bulking, going into a cut to drop body fat, preserve muscle mass, change body composition, all that stuff, and then continuing to lay the foundations, all that together, So, again, it's very individualistic, I could try to put somebody through an aggressive fat loss and they could do terribly on the 4-week fat loss and not be able to stick to it. And then it's a whole other thing. So the person has to be prepared to be intentional and purposeful with whatever that phase is. Period.
I love that. And I didn't want to go off on a tangent on the reverse dieting thing. It's just something that's been on.
It's an interesting thing. Yeah,
it is. Yeah. It's been something that's on the radar, and maybe we can do like a totally separate episode on reverse dieting on its own. But the three that are most common would be cutting, maintenance, and then obviously going into a surplus or a massing phase or weight gain,
bulking, whatever.
Bulking, however you want to say it. So as coaches and as purveyors of the fitness lifestyle that we live, these are the three.
As muscle enthusiasts that we are.
Remember? I do remember that. Someone asked us if what did they ask us if we were like we all went out to restaurant. We all went to dinner one night, and someone said, "Are you like a bodybuilding team or something?"
Yeah.
Or wait.
And then you just said, we went to a restaurant on a WAG staff retreat in Austin. a couple years ago, many years ago actually now. And then, someone said to you, because they looked at you guys and all of us and they're like, what are you guys, like bodybuilders or athletes or something like that? And you're like, we're all just muscle enthusiasts. And they're just like, oh, okay. And then, it was great. I love that answer. I've been using that ever since. Yeah.
That's one of my, one of my finer moments, I guess.
Yes.
But so we wanted to take like this episode and kind of go over these 3 phases. And we're going to talk a little bit about how Chris and I have dealt or gone through with some of these different phases, and also get into how we work with clients through these phases, because some stuff is easier than others. And sometimes it's challenging to convince people that maybe cutting forever and trying to lose weight forever is not the best thing. So, but we'll get into that in a little bit. So, Chris, why don't you go ahead and start off here with, let's go with cutting, I guess.
Yeah. Well, to preface that, so ultimately, no matter the phase that you're in, there's one important thing to keep at the forefront of your mind, no matter what your goal is. And it's that we should be eating and working out for a lifetime and not just for a period of time. Like your intensity is going to change in whatever period in that period of time, depending on your goals and your lifestyle. And obviously the reality that you're living in and how that aligns with your ability to deliver on that intensity and that purposefulness, if you will, in achieving whatever your goal is. So,
love that.
Improving your physique is going to require embracing some discomfort or a lot of discomfort. We try to minimize that discomfort as WAG coaches to the best of our ability, but ultimately that discomfort is up to the choices that you make and are willing to make. So if you want to build muscle, you'll have to eat more and lift hard. Even if your tendency is to restrict and stick to cardio, which a lot of people like to just run themselves through the ringer with too much cardio and not enough food. And then they expect to feel great and build muscle. And that's the exact opposite of what it's going to do. Plain and simple. If you want to lose body fat, you're going to have to get good at delaying instant gratification and accepting some hunger, because it is in direct opposition of what your body has evolved to do, which is to keep you alive. Think of your stored body fat as the plan B to when you're not giving it enough food, or when food is scarce. And that's what we evolved to adapt to, is that we had periods where we had food, we had periods where we didn't have food, and the periods where we didn't have enough food. Guess what helped give you energy? That excess body fat. You mean to tell me that back in the caveman days, they didn't have Chick-fil-A? No, dude. No, unfortunately, no.
I want to see the papers. I want to see the studies.
Yeah. I mean, more study is necessary, but we have yet to uncover any, Chick-fil-A neon signs and the deeper levels of archaeology. Yeah, exactly. So
that's funny.
All right.
But that's exactly right. I mean, jokes aside, that's exactly right.
That's the science of it.
Yeah, totally.
And it doesn't get any more complicated than that. But that's the importance of understanding calories in and calories out, and taking yourself through these phases so that you understand more. And the more you know, the better that you can do, and the better that you're going to squeeze results out of these intentional phases. So getting into cutting is probably the number one thing that most of our clients come in and hire a WAG coach to do, is like, my habits and behaviors are not very good, and I need to change those. And I need the accountability of a coach to help me do that, or to help me understand, or all of the above. So cutting is an intentional phase of eating in a reduced calorie intake to promote weight loss / fat loss. Ideally fat loss, meaning it's body fat coming off of you, not muscle tissue and all these things. So the goal is to lose weight and body fat while maintaining as much lean muscle as possible when partnered with a good strength training protocol. Obviously, we put a large emphasis on protein and carbs during the cutting phase to support continued performance in the weight room or the gym. You've got to eat sufficient protein so that ensures that the weight loss that you are losing is mostly fat, with a limited impact on your strength, performance, and muscle mass. Because what's the point of pursuing fat loss if you're just going to feel like crap during that process? Your workouts suck, you're not getting stronger, that's not a good place to be, So we want to work against that a little bit and help you feel good. So it's important to continue to train as usually. So you're keeping the stimulus on your muscle fibers there and putting the biasness on the muscle, time under tension, to build and preserve muscle mass, despite the calorie cut. So cutting has a time and a place, but it isn't forever. Like we talked about in the beginning, like people who are constantly dieting, you're going to have a bad time. If you pizza when you're French fried, you're going to have a bad time, you know?
Yep.
So, so what are the benefits of cutting weight, right? Most of the time it's just weight loss, fat loss. It's appearance, it's body composition changes, body fat decreases. Potentially, if you're a newbie, if you're kind of new to working out and fitness in general, you're probably going to have better results than somebody who's a seasoned person in certain phases, because your body is adapting to this newly defined stimulus and stuff like that. So it might have a easier and quicker time adapting to it. So you're going to look leaner. And then ultimately what you're doing is you're revealing the muscle mass you have underneath the layers of body fat.
Yeah.
So the thing I like to tell my clients is that training builds the body you want to see. And essentially think of it as like chipping away at your Michelangelo statue, chipping and putting the physique in place. And then your nutrition is what supports and reveals that said body.
That's right? Awesome. Yeah.
So
that's a great way.
Yeah. So that's kind of, that's cutting weight, fat loss in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Essentially,
I think that, there's, like you said, that's it in a nutshell. There's a couple things that, I know that I've worked with clients through, the constant, like, I'll just use a made up person here, a guy who he's 200 pounds. He wants to weigh 185 pounds, 185. That's his goal. That's his, and he's really active. He's pretty active, but it's running is his thing. I want to lose weight. I'm going to run. I'm going to burn calories. I'm going to run some more, He gets down to 185 pounds. Now, this is not everyone, but this has happened to me multiple times. I'm sure Chris has had, worked with people like this. I know that, just about every coach that we have probably has worked with someone like this. They get to their goal weight and it's not what they expected.
Nope.
Okay. So the muscle, I want to see more muscle, more definition. I'll probably need to lose 5 more pounds. So the cut continues. You hit 180. Oh, it's not quite what I thought. Then it's 175. Then it's 170 and so on. This cycle can be very, very dangerous to get into because you just continually deprive yourself of the nutrients that you need to achieve the body that you want. And as coaches, it is up to us. It is up to us to get you to your goal, to what you want. However, getting to that goal might not be, getting to that goal might take a different route than you expected.
Yes.
And or
it may not take one phase of fat loss,
right? That's
to get you to what you have imagined your goal is.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the, as we go through these phases, we'll talk about that some more. But when we were leading into this topic and talking about cutting and how dangerous that can be, just continually trying to cut, like the thought of you needing to be less all the time.
Good point.
Like that pervades like
less is somehow more.
Yes. Yeah. That can be pervasive in a lot of other areas in your life. Not just with weight loss, but the idea that less is more. If I weigh less, people will like me more. If I weigh less, I'm going to have more muscle definition and people will notice this. If I weigh less, people will notice me on the street and at work, they'll ask me if I've lost weight. And there's all these things that are perceived just based on what you think might happen if you lose weight. And you put your body through a lot of turmoil and a lot of hardship in order to get there. And I'm not saying that losing weight is bad. I'm not saying that having the desire to drop body fat is a negative thing. It's not. If that's what you want, cool. We can help you do that and we can help you do it in a safe way.
It can have many health benefits.
Yes, there's a
ton. But it cannot.
Yes. Yeah, there's a ton of benefits to it. And then there's a point though where if it gets too extreme or it goes for too long, you gotta change it up. And it's for your own health. It's for your long-term health, your short-term health. There's so many benefits to adding more calories back in and doing a maintenance phase or maybe even a massing phase to achieve your goal. Everything has its time and place. But the key thing here that I wanted to elaborate on is if that mindset continues, it can be really, really a troubling, or I don't want to say dangerous, but I suppose it could be dangerous at a certain point. And
Rare
hard
instances.
to get out of. Yeah, hard to get out of. So as coaches, we want to be very careful with that. We want to help you get to where you want to go, but we want
you to have a good time while you're getting there.
we want you to pizza when you should pizza, and French fry when you're ready to French fry. That's what we want.
We don't want you tripping yourself up or being your own worst enemy, or as we talked about on previous podcasts, like we can often be our biggest limiting factor.
Yes.
It's not external factors. It's nobody else. It's you.
That's right.
It's me. Right.
That's right.
On that note, what's a good cue for when you see that a person is just struggling to maintain a deficit and push for that next 5 pounds or that 2 pounds they're hoping to get to, where all bets are off and they hit the finish line, they met their goal, and then now they get to stop working because they met their goal, and now they don't need to do anything to maintain this? Like, would that be a sign, like say maybe somebody's struggling to maintain a deficit is one of the purest signs of needing to do something different?
Yeah, man. Oh, that's a great question. And, I mean, so I can speak for myself, obviously. Other coaches might have different cues and different things to look for, but I know that when I say we, me and a client, when we're working through a cut or working through a deficit and it's approaching that 12-week, 16-week area, and all of a sudden, hunger and cravings start to kick up. Maybe they have a few days of really, really solid tracking, and then one day where it's completely off the rails, like an implosion, and they can't seem to control it, no matter how much we work to do that. That right there is the beginning of like the red flags. There might even be some things that come up before that, but there is such thing as diet fatigue, and there's some signs that we just look for, and that's one of them, is like just driving it. Like, I'm trying so hard, I'm eating so little, and I'm trying so hard, and then by Thursday or Friday I just can't do it anymore, and you tripled your calorie count in a day, and you start that crazy yo-yo fluctuation thing, and that can be really tough. And there's, again, lots of other things to look for. But that is one of the big ones that I start to look for and start to, keep an eye on timeline and how they're reacting to the macros that we have. What about you? Anything like?
I agree with everything you said. In my own personal experience, for a great example, actually, is like, so, I started out with WAG being coached at 246 pounds was like my highest recorded weight. I'm sure it was higher, probably 250, something like that. But that was like my highest weight. And that was after a dude who did CrossFit, lost 20 pounds, justified eating the way I did because I did CrossFit 5 times a week and I was a CrossFit coach. So it's like, oh, these things are built in, so I can eat whatever I want. Paleo. Like paleo became 80-20, 70-30% of the time, and 50-50. And then it's like, motherfucker, you're not paleo. You know what I mean? Like, you're not at all. Like, you're maybe doing that 4 days a week, and then you're whatever the heck fits in your mouth the rest of the time, right? And so, it fluctuated up. So, I thought, like we were talking about at the beginning, when people think that they have like an ideal goal weight, being 246, I'm like, I probably got like 20 pounds to lose, and I'll probably look pretty good. 20 pounds came and went. Nope. Wasn't what it was. 30 pounds came and went. 40 pounds came and went. Not quite. I lost 60 pounds in 2 years, thinking all I needed to lose was 20 pounds. And boy, was I wrong. Wow. And I will say, the closer I got to my goal body weight, because it was the same thing, like, 185 looks pretty good, let's see what 180 looks like. 180 looks pretty good, let's see what 175 looks like. Right. What happened was, the closer I got to my goal and the more restrictive I had to be in order to obtain it, the more likely I was to self-sabotage. Meaning being structured 5 days of the week and then just non-structured hedonism on the weekends, and then start back over again, repeat ad nauseum. Yeah. Where's that going to get me? Not very far.
Not very far. Yep.
Not very far. So I had to do something different, right? I had to take some breaks. I had to get some refeed days in there. I had to do other things to get me back up to maintenance calories, to actually know what that was like. And then in a sense, like I like to use with my clients, is having structured hedonism or a refeed day where you get to purposely eat closer to maintenance calories in a structured manner to get the psychological, physical benefits of eating more calories, to take that break in a positive, productive way to keep you on the right path to what you say your goals are.
Oh, wow.
To help make that process easier on you. So that's the thing that we go through 12 to 14 weeks of fat loss. It's like, hey, let's take a break for a week or two. Maybe it's no tracking. Maybe that's the break and you just eat intuitively to practice those things. Or maybe we intentionally bump your carbs and fats up while keeping protein at a decent amount to keep you satisfied and full and preserve all that beautiful muscle mass that you're working hard to build. The thing I think about is if you're putting the work in the gym, you're not fueling it with your nutrition, you are no better than a hamster just spinning on a wheel, going nowhere. You're putting in all this work and you're generating nothing.
Yeah.
And so that's where nutrition comes in. And that's why we need to go through these intentional breaks of hey, let's remind you what it feels like to eat sufficient calories again. Then get that little bit of fog out of you, and get that out of your system.
Yep.
And then we can launch back into a fat loss phase for another 4-6 weeks.
Totally.
See how it goes. And if you're open to it, we'll do another diet break. And then when you get those structured diet breaks to look forward to, you're more likely to stick to the path, man.
Totally.
And take your coach's advice, and then you're more likely to succeed. You'll get to your results quicker. And the quicker you get to the results, that's where the beautiful part comes, because now you get to work on maintaining them instead of fighting against things, you know? And what a beautiful, liberating place to be.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love to take people through that as our as the year progresses.
Yes.
Structured fat loss phase, structured maintenance phase, structured fat loss phase, maintenance phase, and so on. I'm not saying that it needs to go between cutting and maintenance the whole time. You can do a mass phase in there. I know I can talk about my personal dieting structure that I like to follow throughout the whole year. But these maintenance phases are really, really important. You want to talk about maintenance phases real quick, actually?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you've probably gathered by now hearing us talk, essentially maintenance is the ability to maintain your body weight, your muscle mass, and your physique, and that you're essentially just kind of adjusting calorie intake based on your activity levels or your energy balance across the week. Energy balance simply meaning calories in versus calories out. So we know that it being in a calorie deficit, it means you're eating fewer calories, or you're burning more calories than you're eating. At maintenance, you're eating roughly an equivalent of calories to your activity level. And then when we're in a bulk or a surplus, you're eating a little bit higher than your maintenance calories. That's no more complicated than that. So just like cutting and bulking, the maintenance phase is purposeful. The goal is to eat the number of calories that allow you to maintain your body weight, your body composition, as well as your performance and ultimately strength. So you're going to have, the beautiful thing about being in maintenance is that you're going to have more flexibility around your nutrition targets, which can be very liberating, but a little leeway can sometimes be taken farther than we planned. So again, that's where that purposeful thing comes in, because if you think of maintenance and not tracking as a free-for-all, you're going to backslide into your old habits and behaviors that got you into that boat in the first place.
Yeah.
But oftentimes the slow, steady fat loss, and what we like to portray and work and process our clients through, is that the knowledge, the know-how, the skills, the discipline that you develop through this is what's going to be the liberating factor of making your maintenance phases more and more successful.
That's it.
That's it. And so the benefits of that is when you need a diet break from your bulk or your cut, when you want to grow to understand grow your understanding of food, macros and other nutrients without gaining or losing weight. You want to improve your relationship with food without feeling the pressure to change your body necessarily, which is, whoa, what a thought. What a thought, right? To not be just trying to push, but to actually just chill for a bit and enjoy the fruits of your labor and enjoy some freedom. I want that for everyone. And then finally, of just many things, these are just kind of the higher bullet points, but when you want to step away from strict tracking and beginning to eat more intentionally and mindfully and learning, taking essentially the training wheels, which is tracking your food on how, I like to use the analogy of learning to ride a bike with training wheels, is essentially learning to weigh and measure your food and tracking macros. It's the foundation of understanding of how to keep yourself upright using your skills and knowledge to then strip the training wheels off, i.e. the tracking and macro tracking, to then go do it based on what you know and has worked for you. So that's what you stand to gain from periods of fat loss and bulking and stuff. So, so that's kind of, maintaining in a nutshell.
Yeah, maintenance is so important. I mean, if we're talking about coming straight out of a cutting phase, which is oftentimes when maintenance is usually first applied, is coming out of a fat loss phase.
Yep.
I mean, you're going to feel like a superhero. All of a sudden, like you got to. So we have to think about it like this: if someone comes in on a fat loss diet, generally we're going to remove 20 to 25, maybe 30% of
on a more
their
aggressive side. Yeah.
right. If you have a lot of weight to lose, the higher the percentage will be of a calculated maintenance. So as a coach, we'll figure out roughly based on your activity levels and your goals and things like that, what a maintenance level would be. And then we're going to subtract calories from that. Okay.
Yeah.
So as soon as you add in 15 to 20% of your calories back from what you were doing, it's going to be like the lights turn. Oh, it was dark. Now it's light.
Yeah.
Like, wow, what a change. And it's going to feel like you're in this crazy surplus, and it's going to feel like you're eating too much, probably for a little bit. You're going to be like, this doesn't even feel right. But if the cut went well and the fat loss phase went well, I mean, you will feel like that. Oh, I don't know if I can do this. There'll be a little bit of doubt. Like you feel like you shouldn't be eating that much, when in actuality, it's exactly what you need. And it's going to help you like regain that energy, probably stack on a little bit of muscle while maintaining that low weight. Because remember, we're not going up crazy. We're not using those cheat meals or, as Chris was talking about, like these hedonistic, like just blowouts, like it's very structured, but you're going to feel like you're doing something wrong because it feels so good. And
right. And we're not used to that.
Right. Yeah. Especially after coming out of a fat loss phase. This fat loss phase can be really tough. It can be really hard. So all of a sudden, when your body, your mind, your hormones go through a reset, everything just calms down and your body's like, oh, thank goodness.
Yeah.
I'm so
we
much
like to call
happier.
that homeostasis.
Homeostasis. There you go.
Yeah. Think of that as you achieving Zen, right?
Yeah,
it's
sure.
just where your body loves to be, and it's better equipped to actually adapt to the stimulus and to the food and the calories. And it's going to be a body that can partition those nutrients in a more effective manner because, again, you made it a well-oiled machine.
That's right.
By going through this process. So it knows exactly what to do with that nutrients and where to put them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then you stay in maintenance for a while. Now, the duration of maintenance, this is a topic of discussion as well that I've read quite a bit about, and there's quite a bit of research to support it. And Chris, I would love to get your 2 cents here on what you recommend to clients. What I usually do is we do at least 4 weeks of maintenance. Now, that's not jumping up right to a maintenance calorie necessarily. That might be 2 weeks increase and then hold for 2 weeks. And then depending on where we're at, we make a decision from there.
Yep.
Other trains of thought would be to jump right up to maintenance and skip those intermediate levels. There's also the train of thought that says a maintenance phase should last between 60 and 100% of the time you cut. So this one I thought was a little bit extreme, especially for that 100%, because if you cut for 12 weeks and it's a really successful cut, what some studies suggest is that you should maintain for 12 weeks. Yeah. And the idea
60% of that would be about 7 weeks.
Exactly. So if we're talking about a minimum of a month, you're probably going to end up in that spectrum somewhere. And I say, again, a minimum, we're talking 4 weeks. 4 weeks. Call 4 weeks.
You got to give it some time to pan out and see actually what's happening. You got to observe the data, be objective.
Yeah, exactly. And so some of the papers that I've read, that's their reasoning for a maintenance phase taking as long as a cut. Like you didn't lose 30 pounds the first week of your cut and then maintained it. Like it took you 12 weeks to lose 30 pounds. And that's an arbitrary number, but it took you that long to achieve that goal.
Lose it. Yeah.
Right. Therefore, you should spend the equal amount of time maintaining it before you make another decision. So
yeah, it's valid.
I think that's a long time. That's a long time. But any thoughts on that? Or your personal opinion towards maintenance phases?
I think it comes back to it. It depends on the individual. So I've had individuals or clients where I said, okay, well, it's dependent on their skill set, their knowledge, and their execution, like,
Success of the cut.
The success of the cut and the success of the individual to be disciplined to the task at hand.
Yeah.
So if I get somebody that basically had a very difficult fat loss phase and it took a long time or whatever, we might spend a little more time in maintenance, because it's just like, let's take a break. Let's observe. It's also based on like, okay, well, what's the next phase of your life? Or like, did your lifestyle change where you can't train like you did when you were losing fat? Like, Are you actually easing up, or during that process, did you learn that doing more workouts isn't necessary and that you found the minimum effective dosage of workouts and you're now enjoying just strength training 2 to 3 times a week while enjoying being outside more often and getting your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, your NEAT up to maintain that lifestyle habit without having to do as much work to maintain it? Or have you shown me that you can be super precise no matter what life throws at you? And if I were to just go ahead and bump your calories up 300 to 500 calories, you could just do it and stick to it and be happy with it? Cool. I'm willing to try that, So it just depends.
It totally depends.
And like I mentioned, when I kind of took myself through that experience, I had never done an aggressive deficit for fat loss in a structured way anyway. I did it and I had pretty great results. Was I super precise, and did I have some days where I wasn't sure? But for the most part, this was my first time trying it out, and I'm eager to try it again after this bulking phase that I just put myself through.
Cool.
To check that out, because for me, I want to get the results as quickly as I can, so I can get back to maintenance and enjoy life. You know?
Totally.
And I will tell everyone listening right now that I have had a much better time maintaining and increasing my weight and putting muscle mass on than I ever have trying to chase fat loss. I will tell you that right now.
Love it.
I felt better. My energy, my mood, my mental fog, my fatigue, my hormone balances, my testosterone levels, all these things across the board have all just been great and checked out. My libido, all these things are positive, and that's what we want for people. Like, I feel like I'm thriving. I'm not depriving myself.
That's awesome.
I would always prefer my clients to thrive rather than deprive themselves. But understandably, certain phases do require, as we said, delayed gratification.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely. Yeah.
So how do you structure your own personal stuff through the year when you're maintaining phasing? Because, you're a muscular guy, you've always carried a pretty good amount of muscle.
I like to think so.
Don't think, dude. We know. We've seen you. Okay.
So what I like to do is take myself through 3 phases throughout the year, and usually it's 3 months, so 90 days, 3 months of a fat loss phase, 1 month of maintenance. Then it's 3 months of mass phase, 1 month of maintenance. And the last block, right? This would take me to 12 months, 3 months, and a maintenance phase. Depends on if I feel like I need to go back to a cutting phase, or if I'm having good results in my mass phase, then I'll do another month of that. But another 90 days of that. But no matter what, there's always a maintenance phase in between there. It's a month. And I understand that according to some papers and some suggested time frames, that might be a little bit low. But generally, that's what I like to do. And that's 3 blocks, through the whole year, 4 months each. And I find that it keeps it really simple. The maintenance, I like to try to time it out. So the mass phase is in the fall and maintenance phase is over the holidays. The first cutting phase is after the new year. Then the maintenance phase happens around spring break time. The phase going into summer, that depends on if I really want to start massing up and then maintain for part of the summer, or if I want to cut down a little bit more and maintain for part of the summer. But those maintenance phases, I try to be strategic about around the times when it's going to be hard to diet anyways. Like the month of July it's my birthday. It's July 4th. There's lots of travel. There's people coming to visit you, because where we live, it's like the nicest month out of the year. There's all sorts of things going on. Probably don't want to be as super strict during that month. because it would be really hard. And I would be like, sorry guys, I'm going to set this one out. I don't really want to do that. At one time in my life I did, and it worked.
Sure.
It worked fine. But at this point in my life, I'm not really interested in that. So that the holidays is another thing. We have little Milo right now. We take him all over the place. Everybody wants to see. No one cares about us. When you have a small child, no one cares about you. Yeah. It's all about the kid. Yeah. Which is great. We love it. But we're going to see the grandparents. We're going to see great grandparents. We're going to see all these people. And it's like through the holidays, that's another really challenging time. So Thanksgiving through New Year's, I'm not going to be so worried about it. I'm going to be mindful about what I eat, but I'm not going to be so concerned about adhering to a strict cutting plan, nor really a massing plan. So that's what I like to do for my years.
I love that, dude. Mine is very similar, and I would love to tell you about it after I take a break to go pee real quick.
You got it.
I'm jittery. So
we'll take a break.
Can you mark the clip right now?
Yeah, we'll take a break for our sponsor.
Yeah, there we go. All right, I'll be right back. All right. Sorry about that.
All right. I'm going.
Now podcast catheters, dude.
They have those.
Oh, really?
And we're back. But they do. They have these things. David Sedaris wrote a piece about these things called Stadium Pals.
Oh, yeah.
We won't get into the details of the Stadium Pal on the podcast, but might be a thing, but also not really. I think things are going to be okay. So maintenance phase. Not maintenance phase. How do you structure your diets throughout the year?
Honestly, not that different than you. What I've learned over the years, so I experienced the 60 pounds of fat loss, gained like 15 pounds of muscle mass, which I could confirm through DEXA scans. That was the case, and so I had those metrics to work with. And then I just cruised for a little while. I maintained my weight, and like I always say, losing 60 pounds was priceless, but having the knowledge and the skills and the discipline to keep it off for the first time in my life, priceless. Nothing will ever amount to being able to maintain my weight for the last 6+ years. So then it was like, all right, well, let's see how I can build the foundation of my body a little bit more. I'm turning 42 this year. I want to carry more muscle mass. Some years ago, I got diagnosed with psoriasis, autoimmune disorder, that kind of rocked my world, took me out of training. I had to figure this out. I had to kind of put some stuff on pause and really attack this and figure this out. So my goal was health. I was like, I wanted to thrive. I didn't want to feel depleted. And some of the lowest weights that I ever hit in my life were when I wasn't even trying to, which is an interesting thing. Once I let up and just let be, it just happened. And so it was an interesting thing. And plus, some health stuff in there, but I wanted to come back. I wanted to build back stronger and be better and get my, and have energy and justify being able to eat more food. Period. That's a great place to be. So I structure my life in the same way. So I've been trying to just intentionally build muscle mass and take myself through phases of bulking. I've tried a 3 to 6 month bulking phase, and obviously being completely accepting that there's going to be some fat gain with that. But no biggie. All I got to do is take myself through a fat loss phase on the other side, preserve the muscle mass I just built, lose the body fat that I just gained. And then my body composition changes. I get to look leaner, a little more filled out, all that. So I structure my phases of cutting, maintaining, and bulking with the seasons, kind of like what you said,
right
and
on.
what's going on in life. Like, because what I heard from you say is that you align it to the realities of your life.
Yeah.
And your lifestyle, right? Which
Yeah.
have changed having a kid in the last couple of years.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we're different before that. And we'll be different when you guys have another kid coming up on the way. You know what I mean? So like, you're just constantly adapting to life.
That's right.
Because life will never not throw things your way. So buckle up. And so, wintertime, right? Wintertime in Colorado, it's not that bad. It's pretty mild. But ultimately, I find it far easier to be in my garage gym in the wintertime when there's nothing going on, far less social events. I don't want to be outside as much because I have psoriasis and it messes with my skin and it's not a good place to be.
Sure.
I tend to just kind of hole up and try to minimize my time while still getting outside for walks and things like that. So being in the gym makes sense. So bulk right there, bulking phase, right? I want to eat more food in the wintertime anyway because it aligns with holidays when more of those foods are around and all that stuff. So I can put all that food to good use, right? In building, storing, like filling up my glycogen stores, building, repairing muscle tissue, all that stuff. And so I generally will do the 3-month bulking phase, maybe 6 months over the winter time. Cause why not just keep building, right? During that phase. Spend a month in maintenance, or I might do the, like what I did last year, the aggressive deficit for 4 to 6 weeks.
Sure.
Just to get there. And then I go into maintenance for the summer where it's like, okay, I don't want to be in my gym as much because it's hot in there.
Yeah. And it's just like nice to be outside.
Yeah, dude, I live in Colorado. Of course I want to be outside.
Yeah,
like my backyard is a playground. I'm a hiker. I'm a cyclist. I like going 4-wheeling. I like riding my motorcycle. Like I like going camping. Like I want to put more time and effort into those things. And so I strip my training down to like 2 to 3 days of just intentional building. I'm just doing enough sets and working body parts enough to just basically maintain the stimulus on my muscle mass to preserve it after working hard to put it on, and then get to go and enjoy other things. And my lifestyle factors contribute to staying leaner through the summertime because I am getting outdoors more. I'm doing the minimum effective dosage of strength training for the stimulus and all that stuff. And then I have more freedom to maintain my weight because I'm not having to be as precise. So I can stay engaged in my normal disciplines with nutrition, have a night out at a comedy show, have a couple of drinks, go to a barbecue, do this. And it's not that big of a deal because I'm not fighting against what my reality is. Yeah. You know, expecting something that's in complete opposition of what I'm living. Right.
Yeah.
And that's that mindset cue. Like you have to be ready. You have to be intentional. You have to have purpose in these things. And then, you know, summer starts to fade away. Come fall, winter, weather changes. I could be in my gym more. And so that I just start to switch again and I go into another bulking phase. So I've basically been at that for like roughly 2 years now, post psoriasis and all that stuff. Yeah. And I'm in a pretty good place and I'm feeling stronger. You know, I was only lifting like 30, 35 pound dumbbells for the most part in most of my sets and presses. And I'm doing 65, 70 pounds per dumbbell in chest press. And you had asked me that like a couple of years ago. I said, probably, yeah, because I'm going to keep going. So I can see myself getting there. And so I just had that commitment to it because I was curious. Yeah. And so, you know, it's been a pretty good place. So I'm excited to see the fruits of my labor pay off in the next fat loss that I do. And I'll definitely share those results with people online. But you know,
that's awesome.
It's not too different from you, man. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, but Chris, we don't even really need to talk about bulking really, because what Chris just described is exactly it. Like you're in a calorie surplus, you're eating more food, like more consistently to support your either like weight gain. Some people want to just gain weight. I know some people that's hard for some people to believe that people would want to gain weight, but well,
weight classes for competitive athletes,
going through like specific massing cycles where you're ramping up specific lifts in order to get stronger in those lifts or put on muscle mass. Like all of that requires a calorie surplus. You're not going to get very far building muscle in a calorie deficit. You're going to be able to maintain probably, you know, you'll probably lose some, but you'll probably be able to maintain what you got. But if you're looking to gain and you're looking to really put the effort in to gain muscle mass, you need that surplus. So that's exactly what Chris was talking about. It's right to a T. That was great.
Yeah.
It was a great description.
And lean into it and enjoy it.
Enjoy it.
Great thing to do. Like,
enjoy it.
Yeah.
100%. The maintenance phase and the surplus, for some, not for everyone, it's a hard concept to grasp because the idea of purposefully gaining weight seems so foreign to people. And I can understand why. If the feed that you're getting from social media and from the media in general, it goes back to that less and less and less. Less is more kind of thing that we talked about at the beginning of the podcast. It's really hard to break that idea that you need to constantly be cutting or you need this detox tea, you need this fancy
wrap
this wrap. Oh,
keto,
Lord,
carnivore.
Yeah, you need these special diet pills. It's really hard to escape the grasp that those have had on society in general, not just like you as a person, like society in general struggles with that to this day. I think we're very fortunate that we're living in an era where body positivity is a more prominent thing, and gaining weight and eating to support your goals as a lifter or just as to be healthy in general is gaining more prominence. But the teeth of the diet fads and the pills and the fancy things the
magic bullets, quick fixes,
right? That stuff still got its grips on a lot of people, and it's hard to break that. So take it from us, take it from two coaches that have been doing this for a while and the rest of our staff that has been doing this for a while. It's okay to not cut all the time.
Yes.
It's necessary to go through maintenance phases. It's really great and it's really fun to go through surplus phases. And then that makes your cutting phases even more rewarding when you see the hard work that you've put in actually come into fruition, and you feel that gratification with all the work that you've done. It's a really positive thing. These different cycles and phases that we're talking about can be a really positive thing.
Absolutely. And you're not going to know it until you try it, until you just kind of break free of your own restrictions and the things you've put on yourself or that social media's put on you to try something different. Yeah. Because that's what we're here to do. Like, we're here to support you, but we're also here to keep your eye on the prize. If you're saying you want this thing, but you're over here doing that, we have to be like, hey, come back over here, know? And we're here to kind of keep you mostly on the straight and narrow on your path. Everyone's path is never going to be a straight line. It's going to be this wobbly, taking some off ramps, getting back on the on ramp on the highway again, hitting some speed bumps along the way.
Of course.
Ultimately, we're here to keep you focused on the prize so you don't deviate from the road too much or for too long, and in whatever phase or goals that you have, and we're here to help you do that. And if you guys are interested in getting coached by any one of the amazing coaches on the Working Against Gravity nutrition coaching staff, you could use code INSIDEWAG at checkout for $50 off your first month of membership. That's right. And and we could show you another way. Yeah.
100%. 100%. So the gang, I mean, we covered a lot in this episode. Chris is going to link a couple of those articles in the show notes. Yep. So be sure to check those out if you want like a little bit more in-depth explanations and resources than maybe what we just talked about. Because we could go on and on. Believe me, we could go on and on about all these three phases for sure. But we're not going to. This is a great way. This is a great spot to end the podcast. And we just once again, thank you all for listening so much. We're so happy to have new listeners basically every week. It's so exciting. So thank you. Your attention is the most valuable asset that anyone could ever ask for. And we appreciate you donating a little bit of your time to our little podcast every single week. So a sincere thank you for that.
Love you all. We appreciate it.
All right, gang. We'll see you guys next time.